So we're going into the spring. I've been talking to a bunch of guys about opening their second location. So today I put together 6 reasons that your second location might fail. If you don't know who I am, my name's Hutch. I own 6 Augusta Lawn Care franchise locations, and I've made just about every mistake in this presentation and made it multiple times. I've learned the hard way, and so I'm making this for everyone else to be able to learn from and avoid these mistakes. So, if you're opening your second location, I would make sure that you hit all of these boxes. Otherwise, you'll end up paying for things the hard way. So, real truth is a lot of second locations are done too soon. When you get behind the 8 ball, mm, it is really hard to get back ahead when you become overexpanded with your resources. So, I've seen a lot of locations fail to break even in their first 12 months. This drains resources from the first location and really kind of causes the need for a turnaround in a business. It takes more than just enthusiasm. Shiny object syndrome can really get even the best of operators. And unfortunately, there's real world consequences to shiny object syndrome and getting out ahead of your skis. You can waste time, lose profits, your business can even fail. Like you can take one successful location, expand into a second, and lose your first and your second because of shiny object syndrome. So 6 things that I've seen, both personally and with many others. The first one being the owner's just too busy. So you're involved on a regular basis and you're needed to keep operations moving. You're putting out fires and trying to make sure things get done the right way. That's what that looks like. It's funny how many people I talk to, if you're overwhelmed running your first location or you're heavily involved, your a second location isn't going to solve that. It's just going to add more work and responsibility. Delegation is mandatory before getting your second location. Owners being too busy kind of leads to the next one, which is under talented. You might not have what it takes to start a second location, which might be why you're involved a lot. Um, what this looks like is starting your second location, your first one begins to decline. I've seen this a lot. So owners will go to start the second one themselves, right? Because that is a hard process. And as soon as they step away, they can't be as heavily involved, and the first location begins to perform worse. So, having a strong team, high quality people, they will take ownership of metrics and improve that location if things are done right. So, if you set bonuses and you have the right person with the right training, they will hit these bonuses. It could also be, I said right training there, right? So missing systems. What this would look like is your team is constantly asking you questions. They need to wait to take action until you can give them feedback. Uh, some members might do well on your team while others will fail. So if you have like 1 or 2 star performers, but a bunch of the rest of the team is asking you questions, or you have a manager that is asking you a bunch of questions on certain topics but does well in others, it could be failures in systems. The reason I say some will do decent is because there are A-level players out there, high performers that will take things and run with it, right? So like they can operate at a high level even with missing systems. I've seen that in the past. Those people can often hide problems in the business. So you really need to make sure everybody knows how to handle everything. Look at your business like if you were a new team member coming on, what would you need to do to get ramped up and be able to, do the job completely, whether that's office managers, frontline team members, whatever. If you don't have the proper systems in place and you start to get stretched thin, this will lead to inconsistent service. It kills reputation and it kills your margins. Um, You need to document all critical functions of the business, like we just said, onboarding, field operations, billing, customer service workflows, everything like that. Another thing I see is guys getting their first location kind of set up, but not waiting until they have enough startup capital. I can say from experience, when you are stretched thin financially, everything gets harder because you might have the right ideas. You might need to make a change in mm, people on your team, but like you can't do it because you don't have the cash. So, what this would look like is no projections, no predictable cash on hand in the future. You might open your bank account and be surprised in a positive or a negative way when you look at your bank account. So, like, does the number say what you predicted the number would say? If you're already cash strapped, again, this is amazing how many guys I talk to. Like, if you're already cash strapped, adding a second location will break you. Yes, like you'll go pick up new customers, and yes, that will be more revenue, but you are now doubling all of your expenses. And if you're not, let's say you're gonna keep one shop location, you're gonna try to fill up the current assets and trucks you have, you're just making your route density worse. So your team is not going to perform as well. They're not going to be billing at as high of an hourly rate. Um, you're just gonna make your unit economics, like the revenue produced by each truck, each team member, worse. If you are buying a bunch of things and that takes up all of your cash, you're not going to have anything for operations. You're not going to have anything for marketing. You need to have 3 to 6 months of runway basically when launching a new location because it will take time for it to get above break even. Speaking of break even, slow startup and cash drains. This is another common thing. So when you do start a new territory, you're going to have cash set aside. You're going to spend a bunch in the beginning. It the new location is also not going to produce profit or anything meaningful for a few months. So, what this looks like is when you start your second location, you have a slow cash bleed after that initial big investment, of course, buying trucks, different things like that. Or the owner isn't getting paid, but the location still has little to no profit. So, if you're not taking a pay and you had to replace yourself, would that location be profitable? It's fine if you can work and you don't need the funds right now if you're young, or if you have a significant other that has a good paying job and can support that. That's fine, but it's technically a lie. The P&L is a lie if you had to replace yourself. So, staying at low revenue, below break even, 4 months will drain you financially. Again, it's hard to get back above, you know, get your head above water when you have low cash because you can't go market. You can't, like, you're afraid to hire, which ultimately is what it takes to get above break even. And this is increasing revenue. To solve this, you need to build a realistic money model. You need 6 to 12 months of projections for this location. You need good startup capital, aggressive marketing in the beginning. Like, start it in the season when it makes the most sense. Like, make sure that you're ranking well on SEO going into the spring when you can pick up customers for dime a dozen. Um, Very important to get the location supporting itself as fast as possible. You don't want to take one working location and just have it support and limp the second location through for years. That will drain you and it will slow you down. Sometimes it is faster to just wait an extra year, build up more cash, and attack it faster rather than starting a second location and not getting it to the place that you need. And it takes 3, 4, 5 years to ramp up. Where if you just waited one more year, built up more cash from your first location, you'd be able to attack that second location, get it above 500,000 as fast as possible within that first year. And then you can expand faster. Maybe that third year, then you're buying a third location, right? Because you can put the first one, or the first one is in profit mode, the second one can go into profit mode, and the third one can get started. The final thing that I see is just bad territory selection. This is not as common, but picking a location that is far away from your first one, I have seen that happen a few times. This will strain your ability to fight fires. Ultimately, when a problem arises and when you have a fire to fight, like what happens if something happens to that first location, right? So if you're running two separate shops and they are far apart, you have to make the decision. Do you pause the second location and kind of throw away all of the investments you've made to start that in order to go save the first location, which is the cash cow? Or do you let the cash cow slowly die in order to continue ramping up the second location, which is extremely fragile at this point in time? Or do you kind of just try to limp both of them through and just have a really poor year with both of them? That is a brutal decision to make, and I've seen a lot of guys spend a whole year because they have to take a month and turn around their first location because they picked one that was a little ways away, or it wasn't in, like, the same market, which being in the same market is extremely important. So, like, it doesn't have to be the same city if there's nothing really close to you, but you do want similar demographics because new demographics would lead to new systems, new equipment, new services, right? Like if you need different trucks and mower setups, if you need different marketing channels to pick up people in this new territory, you're going to have to create everything new when you don't get any economies of scale. Economies of scale will help, like, everything, all the systems that we built for that first location, we wanna use them on the second one. So, to recap, how do we avoid failure of the second location? I would run through this checklist and make sure that you hit all 6 boxes. Do not start another location unless all boxes are checked here. So capital, do you have 6 months of what it's going to take to start up the location? Have you ran your projections? Systems, can you leave your current business and have it maintain or continue to grow without you? If not, you need better SOPs. The territory test, is demand there? A lot of service businesses will get leads and will just never call their leads. Like if they send them an estimate, they definitely won't follow up. You can run some Facebook ads in that new territory and test and see if it's a good area. So like if you know how your first location performs on, let's say, aeration ads, you're thinking about starting a new location in the spring, run some ads there. That goes without saying. Don't sell them anything if you're not going to go do that. But you can run ads there and see if you're getting similar returns if the call to action works, right? Also, make sure it's not so far away that you're able to bounce between either of them if needed. How's your team? So, do you have high quality employees? Like, if you take your two best people at your current location and you just split them between the first location and the second, you're just diluting your talent. So, like, do you have a way to like get good people in the door and level them up? No, I would probably be hiring more. I would be making sure that you are not just going to dilute your first location, but instead build a strong second location while keeping the first one also strong. Profit check. Um, is the first location generating profit? This goes back to cash. Like, do we just have enough cash on hand? And is the first location going to be able to survive and potentially give us more runway as well? All 5 of those things leads to the 6th, which is this repeatable? So the systems, the teams, the proper territory. How long does it take us to get a location self-sustaining, and can it be done without your involvement? So do you have a good marketing system, a good way of getting people in the door? Because what happens when the manager at that first location or something catastrophic happens, something happens to you, you get sick, something happens in your family, and you have to leave that second location? Will the second location continue to fail or continue to grow, or will it fail? Like, will you have to basically readdress it next year and just hope it survives the winter? So, can the second location grow without you? Can the first location stay alive and also grow without you or maintain profit mode? Hope this helps. Make sure you check all 6 of these boxes. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.